Yo, before another word hits the mic, hit that thumbs up like it owes you rent money, tap that share arrow like your paycheck depends on it, and let the whole family know we back in the trenches doing what we do best on this front line. This is the Culture Desk, your #1 frontline booth for everything the industry does not want you to notice, and today we are cracking open a story that has the entire rap ecosystem twitching. Because Drake just walked onto a fully lit, fully monetized, fully branded 3-hour stream, looked dead into the barrel of the camera, and told the whole rap game his pen isn't dry, and the aftershock is still bouncing off every corner of the internet like a pinball nobody can catch. Drake meant it as a warning. Drake meant it as a flex. Drake meant it as a mic drop moment for the ages. Drake meant it as a shot across the bow of the entire rap game. But somewhere between the Cartier bracelets, the Chrome Hearts jeans, and the price tag flexing that came right after, the moment collapsed on itself in front of the entire planet, and now every real MC in the game is passing the clip around like a group chat meme they cannot stop laughing at. Track with me here, because this is the pocket I'm in tonight, and I promise every second of this breakdown is gonna hit you with something the corporate outlets are terrified to say out loud. Let's rewind the tape. The whole family already knows Drake linked up with the Nelk Boys, hopped on Kick, plugged the steak bag one more time, and turned what should have been a straightforward promotional cycle into a 3-hour variety show. Somewhere inside that marathon, Drake leaned toward the mic, dropped his volume the way a magician lowers his voice before pulling a rabbit out of a hat, and delivered the line that has now become a bumper sticker for the entire month. Careful with that reply, because the pen isn't dry. Drake said it like a man reading a will. Drake said it like a headmaster warning a locker room full of freshmen. Drake said it like the sequel diss track was already loaded into the chamber. And the internet, being the internet, immediately grabbed that clip, chopped it, looped it and sent it flying in every direction. Now the question every hip-hop head on the timeline is asking is the same question I have been rolling around in my head all week long. Who exactly is Drake threatening? Who is on the other end of that pen? Because if the ink is truly still wet, then somebody's name is written on that page, and the whole family deserves to know whose it is. Here's what the math says. Only one rapper alive is standing directly across from Drake in an active, publicly documented, back-and-forth exchange right now. That rapper is A$AP Rocky. Every finger points in that direction. A$AP Rocky just dropped a project where he stitched Drake into the fabric of the record, from the "first you stole my flow, then I stole your girl, flip on stole ya" flow, to the sideways jabs woven all across "Don't Be Dumb," to the entire interview circuit where Rocky went on the Jason Lee show and calmly narrated exactly how tired he is of Drake circling Rihanna's name in every album rollout. A$AP Rocky is not whispering. A$AP Rocky is not being coy. A$AP Rocky is not playing subliminal chess. A$AP Rocky has been publicly logging every jab, every subliminal, every alleged studio session where the X became the topic, and every party where the champagne flutes turned into cheap petty rockets. So when Drake surfaces on a Kick stream and says be careful with your reply, the only human being in the entire rap ecosystem currently replying to Drake is A$AP Rocky. Case closed, sealed, and shipped. That is not opinion. That is the timeline. That is not a guess. That is the ledger. That is the receipt drawer wide open with the register spinning. Now some of y'all are gonna type in the comments right now, well, maybe Drake means Jay-Z. Come on now. That is not a serious sentence. That is fanfiction. Drake is not standing on a Nelk Boys couch throwing warnings at Sean Carter, the man who owns entire catalogs older than most of Drake's TikTok fans. That is not a battle. That is not even a conversation. That is a man trying to skip levels in a video game he already lost the tutorial for. Track with me here, because the entire architecture of Drake's warning falls apart the second you try to plug Jay-Z into the equation. Jay-Z has not tweeted at Drake. Jay-Z has not subtweeted Drake. Jay-Z is out here a champagne empire, a sports agency, a streaming platform, and a legacy tour rollout, and Drake wants us to believe the pen threat was aimed at him? No. The math does not math. The only ring Drake is actually swinging inside of is the A$AP Rocky ring, and even that ring, my friends, has a floor made of eggshells. While the internet was still sorting itself out, in walks Joe Budden. And I want everybody in the whole family to sit with this for a second, because y'all might side-eye what I'm about to say. This is one of the only times in a time where I am on the exact same page as Joe Budden. I do not call his podcast the same name anybody else does anymore. I call it what I see. I call it the participation trophy panel, because half the takes coming out of that studio feel like they are being generated by a raffle wheel. But this take? This one landed. This one connected. Joe Budden pulled up the Drake clip on his show, pressed play, let it breathe, then looked directly into the camera and said the real MCs in this game are not scared of Drake. Nobody real is losing sleep over whether his pen is dry. Nobody is checking to see if the ink is wet. Nobody is standing outside Drake's studio holding a candle waiting for the next declaration. Joe Budden said it flat, and for once in this calendar year, I have to line up behind him. Because let's keep it a stack for the whole family. Nobody real is worried about that pen. Nobody real is peeking through the blinds. Nobody real is refreshing Drake's Instagram at 3 in the morning waiting for a warning shot. That energy is over. That era ended the day not like us hit 30 rotations at the Super Bowl. The rappers who can actually rap, the rappers who show up in the pocket with real bars, the rappers who eat off lyricism instead of algorithm, do not care about Drake's ballpoint. Do not care about Drake's fountain pen. Do not care if Drake dips his quill in gold and signs his name across the Manhattan skyline in flame ink. That fear is not currency anymore. That threat does not clear in this economy. And the funniest part is that on that same 3-hour stream, Drake pivoted from the pen warning straight into flexing his outfit. Drake started rattling off the price tags on his bracelets. Drake started narrating his chains like a museum tour guide. Drake started purring, and yes, that word is exactly what happened, because I watched the clip 12 times and it still sounds the same every single time. So while the Iceman is trying to convince the entire room that his pen is a weapon, he is simultaneously turning into a QVC segment. Come on now. You do not get to declare war on the entire genre and then in the very next breath explain that your grandma would wear the same bracelet if she could afford it. You do not get to threaten the whole roster and then giggle about the price tag. That is not a warlord. That is a lookbook. Now let's talk about what happened inside the Joe Budden discussion, because this is where the temperature actually spiked. One of Joe's co-hosts got asked, hypothetically, if Drake was in New York, would you meet up with him? And this grown man froze on camera, cracked a nervous joke, sidestepped the question, and started acting like meeting up with Drake was some kind of taboo intimacy nobody had told him about. Joe Budden looked at him like he grew a second head in real time. Joe Budden reminded him that for the last 2-3 years, he has openly called Drake his guy. Called Drake his man. Called Drake his favorite. Not sarcastically, not ironically, sincerely. And now, on the exact week Drake becomes hard to defend, suddenly it's, nah, I don't want to know that man. Why would I want to meet another man? Come on now. The whole family sees straight through that. That is not tough talk. That is a costume change. That is a man reading the room and picking the side that pays. And Joe Budden buried him with the cleanest line of the whole episode. Joe said, you sit in a room with a group of men twice a week to record this podcast. You go to dinner with men. You take flights with men. You share hotels with men on tour. Now, all of a sudden, wanting to shake hands with a rapper whose music you have publicly co-signed for years is somehow a red flag? Cut it out, my brother. Track with me here, because this is exactly the kind of pretend machismo that has been suffocating hip-hop for the last 5 years running. Real MCs meet each other. Real MCs shake hands. Real MCs share stages. Real MCs pull up on each other after tour. This performative distance is not culture. That is cosplay. But now let's step into the ring where I actually live, because I want to talk about the pen. I want to talk about the receipts. And I want to talk about the real reason nobody real is losing sleep over Drake's warnings anymore. Y'all might side-eye this one, but the truth has to breathe. Drake lost the last battle. Not on points. Not on a technicality. Drake lost the last battle in front of the entire planet, in real time, on every timeline, on every app, on every barbershop chair, at every cookout, on every stage where Kendrick Lamar performed Not Like Us as if it were a national anthem. Drake did not just lose. Drake got shipped home. Drake got wrapped up like a takeout order. Drake got sent into the off-season. And then, Because losing was somehow not sufficient humiliation on its own, Drake did the one thing no rapper is supposed to ever do. Drake ran to the courthouse. Drake ran to the judge. Drake sued. Drake filed. Drake litigated. Drake put another man's bars inside a legal filing. Drake told a judge that a rap song was a physical threat to his body. Drake said an entire major label was botting his streaming numbers. Drake said the culture at large was engineering vigilante justice against him. Drake wrote all of that down in ink that did not need to dry, because a lawyer typed it up on a keyboard. And that piece of paper, my friends, that court filing, that legal exhibit, is the actual reason nobody is scared of the pen anymore. Because the last thing that pen wrote was a court exhibit. The last thing that pen wrote was an interrogatory. The last thing that pen wrote was, Your Honor, please make them stop. That is not a warning. That is not a threat. That is a plea. And the whole family can read. So when Drake surfaces on a kick stream, wraps a scarf around a warning, and tries to convince the game his pen is a weapon of mass destruction again, the entire genre looks at each other and shrugs. Not because the bars aren't there. Nobody with any sense said the bars aren't there. Drake can still get busy in a booth. Drake can still stack a verse. Drake can still cook a hook. That is not the argument on this desk. The argument is that the fear is gone. The intimidation is gone. The mythology is gone. And once the mythology is gone, all you have left is a rapper. A very rich rapper. A very popular rapper. A very talented rapper. A rapper with hits stacked to the ceiling. But just a rapper. Not a boogeyman. Not a warden. Not a headmaster. Just another gifted artist on the roster with an expired combat license in his wallet. Now let me pull out my microscope and answer the question every real hip-hop head has been asking. Who is Drake actually threatening? Not who could he threaten in theory. Not who might he threaten in a dream. Who is he threatening right now, this week, in this calendar year, in this specific press cycle? Because when you line up the actual roster of MCs currently drawing breath in the culture, the target list evaporates faster than snow on a hot pavement. Kendrick Lamar. Done. That mountain has been climbed, planted, and photographed. Kendrick Lamar is not walking backward down that hill for a rematch. Kendrick Lamar is out here being installed as a permanent fixture in hip-hop's museum, with velvet ropes and a security guard at every exhibit. J. Cole. Also done. J. Cole tapped out of that battle publicly, on stage, in front of a paying crowd, and has spent every day since building a legacy on features, tours, and a fatherhood arc that has clearly become his priority. J. Cole is not coming back to that arena, and honestly, J. Cole probably shouldn't. Future. Pieced up with Drake already. Metro Boomin. Silent. 21 Savage. Working. Jay-Z. Not entertaining you. Nas. Above it. Andre 3000. Playing a flute somewhere. So who exactly is left inside the crosshairs? The only person on that entire list who fits is A$AP Rocky. And even A$AP Rocky is not a battle Drake actually wants smoke with, because A$AP Rocky is not fighting on hip-hop rules. A$AP Rocky is fighting on personal rules. A$AP Rocky is bringing Rihanna into every sentence. A$AP Rocky is bringing Drake's fatherhood arc into every bar. A$AP Rocky is bringing years of alleged subtweets and studio visit rumors into open daylight, and Drake, historically, does not perform well when the fight becomes personal in that specific direction. That is not me editorializing. That is not me putting a thumb on the scale. That is the tape. That is the receipts. That is the record. So if the pen is truly still dripping ink, the only realistic target is A$AP Rocky, and even that target is a landmine field. Because if Drake actually loads up and fires at A$AP Rocky, Rihanna gets pulled in whether she wants it or not. If Rihanna gets pulled in, the entire Mother of Two narrative gets weaponized on the timeline. If the Mother of Two narrative gets weaponized, Drake becomes the villain of a story that used to be his winning card. And once you become the villain of a love story you helped invent, you cannot get the pen to save you, no matter how expensive the ink. The whole family will read every line as evidence. Every bar will be dissected. Every metaphor will be autopsied. Every syllable will be timestamped against the Rihanna timeline. Come on now. Let me switch lanes for a second, because I want to be intellectually honest with all of y'all watching, and I want to be intellectually honest with the algorithm that's about to serve this video to a million new faces. If we are willing to give Drake the runway to say his pen is still hot even after the lawsuit, then we have to extend the same grace, the exact same grace to J. Cole. And I mean that seriously. Because for 2 years running, every single time J. Cole tightens his shoelaces and drops a competitive bar, the timeline erupts. He tapped out. He apologized. He's not allowed to talk spicy anymore. His card got revoked in Charlotte. I've seen every meme. I've read every tweet. I've watched every clip compilation. But here is the thing. J. Cole never filed a lawsuit. J. Cole never handed a judge somebody else's raps. J. Cole never called an entire label's marketing a physical threat to his safety. J. Cole took an L on stage, said out loud that he took the L, and walked home with his dignity. That is a very, very different kind of surrender than what Drake did. If Drake gets to reload, J. Cole gets to reload. Period. Full stop. If Drake gets to reintroduce himself, J. Cole gets to reintroduce himself. Track with me here, because you cannot move the goalposts for one giant and pretend the field is still level. Now, back to Drake. Because the biggest problem with the whole pen isn't dry monologue is not actually the words. The biggest problem is the setting. Drake did not deliver that warning in a booth. Drake did not deliver that warning on a track. Drake did not deliver that warning in a music video with a lawyer sweating in the corner of the frame. Drake delivered it on a promotional stream, sandwiched between Nelk Boys clips, casino promo codes, Chrome Hearts fits, Cartier close-ups. That is not a warning. That is content. That is a bit. That is a set piece designed to trend for 48 hours. And once the audience realizes the warning is content, the warning stops being a warning. It becomes another item in the merch drop. Come on now. There is a lunchroom analogy that Joe Budden dropped that I think perfectly explains what is happening in the culture right now, and I want to run it through the desk for the whole family. Joe said, imagine you got beat up in the school cafeteria yesterday, in front of every single table, on every camera phone. Today you walk right back into that same cafeteria and you tell the whole room, y'all better be careful because my hands still work. Come on now. That's not intimidation. That's an audition. That is you begging somebody smaller than the kid who hooped you yesterday to raise their hand so you can rebuild your reputation on their face. And the room is not going to volunteer. The room is going to keep eating. The room is going to keep laughing. The room is going to keep passing the clip around under the table. That is exactly where Drake is standing right now. In the cafeteria. Between the vending machines. With nobody stepping up. And here's the deeper structural problem Drake now finds himself trapped inside. Drake can't just pick a small target. Because if Drake picks a smaller rapper and cooks them, the internet will say, yeah, but he still couldn't touch Kendrick. If Drake picks a bigger rapper and loses again, the internet will say, see, we told you. Drake is trapped inside a size perception paradox that only Drake himself can break, and the only realistic way to break it is by actually connecting on somebody who has genuine cultural weight. That is a needle-threading exercise Drake is not currently equipped for, because his catalog is stretched across 3 brand new albums, his tour is in motion, his brand partnerships are humming, his casino promotions are active, and the last thing an active revenue empire wants is another battle where the paperwork gets uploaded to Genius. Let me shine a light on those 3 albums for a second, because context matters and I want to give Drake credit where credit is genuinely due. Iceman is Drake's hardest and most focused rap album in years. Habibti Interlude is Drake's ambitious dive into R&B and world music territory, layered with strings, prayers, and heartbreak. Maid of Honor is the softer, more melodic, more introspective sibling in the trilogy, engineered for the late-night playlist demographic. Together, those 3 albums moved a healthy sum of units. The whole family has to give credit where credit is due. Drake did not phone in this rollout. Drake actually worked. Drake actually recorded. Drake actually shipped. So when Drake stands on his stream and says, I dropped 3 on that head top, Drake is not lying to us. Drake earned that lap. What Drake did not earn was the right to reissue combat threats on the back of that same rollout. That's the misstep. You cannot confuse commercial output with combative equity. Those are two completely different bank accounts. Track with me here. Now let's do the math on the actual open target field one more time, because I want to be complete. If Drake is warning drill rappers, cool, but nobody in the drill scene is threatened by a warning from a Toronto pop. If Drake is warning melody rappers like Don Toliver or Lil Yachty, well, they aren't in the ring anyway. If Drake is warning what we would consider real MCs, the list has been closed with a padlock. Kendrick Lamar? Closed. J. Cole? Closed. A$AP Rocky? Active. Nas? Retired from the discourse. Jay-Z? Untouchable. So the only serious answer left on the entire whiteboard, the only human being currently signaling for a smoke break with Drake, is A$AP Rocky, and A$AP Rocky's name curiously never came up on that Joe Budden episode. Not once. Not in a whisper. That's the pocket I'm in, and that is the piece of the puzzle I want somebody in the comments to explain to me, because it does not add up. Meanwhile, on the fantastic side of the hip-hop internet, Kendrick Lamar is doing what Kendrick Lamar does best. Kendrick Lamar just leaked a new song that sent the entire genre into a fresh panic. Kendrick Lamar just dropped what people are calling a final warning to everybody who came in the last 2 years. Kendrick Lamar keeps releasing content the way volcanoes release lava, in slow, deliberate, undeniable waves that reshape the landscape. And every single time a new Kendrick Lamar bar hits the internet, the Drake versus Kendrick conversation lights back up, and Drake ends up being reminded that the crown is still not on his shelf. That reminder, that daily reminder, that recurring reminder, is a huge part of why the pen threat exists in the first place. Drake needs the mythology reactivated. Drake needs the fear of God energy re-uploaded. Drake needs the pen to feel dangerous again, because the daily reality of Kendrick Lamar leaking songs is a constant tap on his shoulder. But the receipts are still online. The paperwork is still discoverable. The lawsuit is still a Google search away. And the whole family reads. Now let's get real about something else the corporate outlets will not tell you. The idea that Drake is only performing this warning for his own fanbase is, I think, the correct read on this entire situation. Drake's fans, and I say this with total love and zero shade, genuinely believe Drake is undefeated. Drake's fans believe the last battle was a draw. Drake's fans believe the numbers won it. Drake's fans believe the streaming counts, the Grammy nominations, and the tour receipts overwrite the actual scoreboard on the ground. So when Drake stands on a kick stream and says the pen isn't dry, Drake is not really talking to A$AP Rocky. Drake is not talking to Kendrick Lamar. Drake is not talking to Jay-Z, Drake is talking to his own audience. Drake is saying, don't lose faith in me. I'm still your guy. I'm still the king. Stay in the group chat. That is what a warning becomes when the target list is empty. It becomes a rallying cry for the base. And that, honestly, is a strategy. It's just not a battle strategy. It is a fan retention strategy dressed in warlord cosplay. And I get it, whole family. Drake has always been an artist who understands the fanbase economy better than almost anybody in his generation. Drake knows how to feed the loyalists. Drake knows how to gift them a moment they can defend at work on Monday morning. That is a real skill and I will never take it from him. That's exactly why the empire is still up and running at full power. But there is a hard ceiling to that strategy. The ceiling is credibility with rap peers. And that ceiling is currently pressing down on Drake's forehead. Because rap peers do not eat rally cries for breakfast. Rap peers eat evidence. Rap peers eat receipts. Rap peers eat verses that connect. And right now, the receipts on Drake's side of the ledger include a legal filing that nobody in this culture is ever going to forget. Case closed, sealed, and shipped. Let me pull back one more time and address the fantastic energy that always shows up in these comment sections. There is a passionate portion of the audience that will say, but KJ, he just dropped 3 albums. He just filled arenas. He just topped the charts on every metric that exists. He just did what nobody else in the game can do right now. And to those of y'all, I hear you. I do. Those numbers are real. Those receipts are real. Nobody is taking them away from him. But numbers do not settle battles. Numbers settle payrolls. Numbers settle balance sheets. Numbers settle SoundScan reports and Nielsen dashboards. A battle is settled by consensus. And the consensus, whether Drake's team wants to accept it or not, has already been printed. That's not disrespect. That's just what happened on the tape. Come on now. And here's where I want to push the whole family to think a little deeper. Because the bigger story is not really about Drake's pen. The bigger story is about what happens to a genre when its biggest commercial star loses his most public battle. Historically, hip-hop has never had this exact scenario play out. Jay-Z lost to Nas but recovered because Jay-Z absorbed the loss with grace, dropped a legendary record, and moved forward without touching a courthouse. Nas won that round and kept building the discography. LL Cool J took losses and reset. Ja Rule took a loss and pivoted to a different lane. But nobody, and I mean nobody, in modern hip-hop history has taken a loss of this scale and then chosen litigation as their next chess move. That is the reason the pen threat does not land in 2026. Because in hip-hop, the pen either wins the battle or the pen writes the concession speech. The pen does not write a lawsuit. That is not a rap tradition. That is not a rap ritual. That is not a rap rule of engagement. And once you break the ritual can no longer protect you. So here we are in real time. Drake is on the stream. The pen isn't dry, allegedly. The bracelets are shining under the ring light. The Chrome Hearts jeans are crossed. The Cartier is catching every reflection in the studio. And somewhere in Los Angeles, Kendrick Lamar is not looking at his phone. Somewhere in Harlem, A$AP Rocky is smiling at his screen. Somewhere in North Carolina, J. Cole is putting on headphones and ignoring every trending hashtag. Somewhere in New York, Joe Budden is queuing up another episode. And somewhere in the comments section of every hip-hop channel on planet Earth, the whole family is deciding whether Drake's warning still works or whether it just expired on arrival. Let me make my prediction plain, because I do not do fence-sitting on this desk. Drake is not going to actually war anybody in the immediate future. Drake is going to keep flirting with the concept. Drake is going to drop subliminals. Drake is going to do interview rounds. Drake is going to let songs marinate for 2 weeks and then throw a line in the middle of a soft record and let the podcasts do the amplifying for him. Drake will not, and I repeat, will not, walk into a full-scale battle again unless the target has been meticulously calibrated to guarantee a win. And there is no such target currently available in the open marketplace. So the pen may not be dry, but the pen is also not writing anything the culture will read as combat. The pen is writing content. That is what the pen is doing right now. Content. Now let me stress a point Joe Budden made in that episode that I want to underline. When you make a declaration in public you must be prepared to enforce it. If you say the pen isn't dry, then when the next challenger raises their hand, the entire audience is going to expect immediate contact. And if that contact does not arrive, or if it arrives softly, or if it arrives wrapped in 3 interviews and a diplomatic clarification, the pen loses another degree of credibility with every passing week. So Drake has actually put himself on a very short clock. Drake now has to enforce a threat he made on a stream while wearing bracelets he was simultaneously flexing. That is a tight window. That is a narrow runway. And landing that plane requires a target that does not currently exist on the tarmac. Come on now. Some of you watching are typing right now, but KJ, isn't A$AP Rocky the target? And yes, that is the most rational reading of the whole situation. But A$AP Rocky has already been swinging at Drake for months on end. If Drake truly wanted A$AP Rocky in a rap ring, that record would already exist by now. Drake is very capable of turning around a diss inside 48 hours when the appetite is genuinely real. Remember back-to-back. Remember push-ups. Remember family matters. Drake can move at absolute lightning speed when the hunger is present. The hunger, on this occasion, is clearly not present. The hunger is performative. Which brings us right back to the theory of the stream. The whole 3-hour broadcast was a fan service moment. A warlord cosplay for the loyal base. A hand signal to the tribe that says, I'm still your king, don't wander off to the other side of the timeline. Let me be crystal clear on one important thing, though. Drake is still one of the most gifted commercial artists of his entire generation. Drake still has the pen. Drake still has the ear. Drake still has the melodies. Drake still has the hooks. Drake still has the machinery. Drake still has the empire. That is not up for debate on this desk. What is up for debate is whether Drake still holds the combat license. And on that specific license, on that particular ID card, the license has been suspended. Not revoked. Suspended. Because in hip-hop, redemption is always available if you are willing to earn it back with fire and only with fire. But Drake has not chosen fire. Drake has chosen streams. Drake has chosen bracelets. Drake has chosen legal filings. Drake has chosen brand deals. And every single choice Drake makes that is not fire is another day the suspension continues on the calendar. That is the pocket I'm in tonight, and I want to hear where y'all and the whole family stand. Do you think Drake is truly threatening somebody? Do you think A$AP Rocky is the target? Do you think Jay-Z is even a real conversation? Do you think J. Cole deserves the exact same grace we would extend to Drake to reload his weapon? Do you think Kendrick Lamar is truly done with the entire chapter and won't respond to anything for the next 2 years? Do you think Joe Budden is right for once in his life? Do you think the whole conversation is overblown? Do you think the pen is genuinely wet? Do you think the participation trophy panel finally cooked a real take? Drop it in the comments below right now. Give me the receipts. Give me the timeline. Give me the counter-argument. Give me the theory. Give me the alternate reading. The whole family runs this ship together, and I want to see every corner of the map lit up in real time. Because the truth is, this story is not close to over. Drake will drop another statement inside of 10 days. A$AP Rocky will respond, likely inside of a week. Rihanna will get pulled into the conversation, likely against her will. Kendrick Lamar will drop something small on a Sunday afternoon and shake the whole board. Jay-Z will remain completely silent, because that's how Jay-Z operates in every era. J. Cole will release a feature that reminds the internet exactly why we ever cared about him in the first place. And the participation trophy panel will spend at least 4 episodes recapping every single angle of every single move. The industry does not stop. The industry does not sleep. The industry does not blink. And this desk will be right here every single step of the way to translate it for you in real time. And before we clip this one off, let me remind y'all what this pen conversation is really about. It's not really about ink. It's not really about paper. It's not really about a warning shot. It's about the era. It's about whether the era of Drake as the undisputed cultural warlord is closed or paused. My red? Paused. Not closed. Paused. Because a talent like Drake will always have another chapter waiting on the shelf. Always. But the chapter that is currently being written is a defensive chapter. A protective chapter. A brand management chapter. And defensive chapters do not produce warning shots. Defensive chapters produce press releases. So until Drake trades the press release energy for the studio fire energy, the pen thread is going to feel like a costume every single time it gets pulled out of the drawer. If the pen wants to be dangerous again, the pen has to write something the culture cannot ignore. And the culture cannot be tricked. The culture cannot be bought. The culture cannot be marketed at. The culture can be entertained, absolutely, no question. But entertained is not the same as intimidated. The last time Drake truly intimidated the culture was arguably Back to Back. And even that record, in hindsight, feels like a different Drake, a hungrier Drake, a Drake with less to protect and infinitely more to prove. That Drake has been on vacation for a decade. Whether that Drake comes back is a separate story entirely, and honestly, I would love to see it. Because let me tell y'all something the whole family already knows. A hungry Drake is a great Drake. A hungry Drake makes the whole genre level up. A hungry Drake creates records we memorize. So when I sit here and audit the pen threat, I'm not celebrating Drake's slippage. I'm cataloging it for the record. And I'm openly inviting the hungry Drake to please come back and answer this conversation with a record we can actually put on repeat. Until then, this is the take. This is the report. This is the download. This is the frontline briefing. Drake said the pen isn't dry on a kick stream. Joe Budden said stop it on a podcast. Ish tried to defend the corner and lost the round on air. A$AP Rocky is the only realistic target left standing. Kendrick Lamar is completely uninterested. Jay-Z is untouchable at this altitude. J. Cole deserves the exact same grace we would ever extend to Drake, and if you disagree with that framing, you owe me a 500-word explanation in the comments right now. Because you cannot move the goalposts. Not on this desk. Not on this frequency. Not on this front line. Not in this time zone. Do me a favor before you swipe out of this video. Hit that thumbs up if this breakdown told you something the algorithm was hiding from you all week. Share this video with the group chat that argues about rap every single day of the year. Subscribe to the channel if you want to stay on the front line of every industry shift, every legal filing, every warning shot, and every response that follows. And if you're brand new here on the Culture Desk, welcome to the whole family. This is the Culture Desk. This is where the receipts live. This is where the paperwork gets read out loud. This is where every story gets translated into the language of the streets long before the corporate outlets even wake up to check their inbox. Slide into the front line. Drop your comment. Tell me exactly who you think Drake is really warning. And I will see the whole family in the very next drop. This is the Culture Desk signing off. Stay on the front line. Keep the receipts loaded. Peace.